Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is one of my dear friends, Meaghan Fitzsimmons. I know her as
Hello.
Harpal. Welcome on, Meaghan. It's such an honor to have you on.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here for sure, Peter.
Yeah, I'm super stoked because Meaghan is a Kundalini Yoga teacher trainer. She's a spiritual adventurer and a champion of transformation. And we just have so many amazing topics that we're going to be potentially discussing today. Sometimes we don't get to all of them. We'll see how Spirit wants to guide the conversation. But some of the topics we'll talk about is Meaghan's spiritual journey, Kundalini Yoga, numerology, the 10 energy bodies, 1,000-day Kundalini Yoga Kriya, and then breadcrumb, spirituality, and synchronicities.
Oh, sounds
So
fun.
yeah, we got a whole
Yes.
list of amazing topics. So Meaghan, if you would be open to sharing how it all started for you, how the spiritual awakening went for you.
Okay. I think as I mentioned offline, my spiritual life, my whole life is an unfolding spiritual journey. I think this is just something that why I came to be here on the planet. So I probably have like 7 or 8 really significant spiritual moments, starting when I was 7, when I swam in the ocean by myself,
Oh
not
wow.
knowing how to swim. From Long Beach, California. I like to say not the good part.
Hmm.
So I don't know if people see me on this or not. I am a white, affluent woman. So where I come from, nobody would guess. But where I was raised, I think probably makes more sense. And but that experience as a young child, getting out there in the ocean, I think was like my first baptism. I have no idea if I was baptized before, but it was definitely like a cut from my old life.
Hmm.
And within myself, that would be an awakening to my commitment to have a good life. I just had a really shocking experience when I was a child, and I was going to go out there and not wait for anyone, which is why I would swim in the ocean. I just wasn't going to wait for anybody or anything um, to define or make my life possible. So
Hmm.
I've been pretty much making my life possible with whatever tools and resources have I get brought to me. Um, I'm really good at that.
Hmm.
Um, and so in my current journey, how you know me, Kundalini Yoga, it's a little bit convoluted. So pay close attention, try to follow. Because there's like forward stories, backward stories. Um, in my late 20s, I had a falling out with God. I had pursued being a nun because, backstory, um, I think I was 24, 25. I was really distraught about the way my life was going.
Hmm.
Very, I had a very codependent relationship with my mother, and she always had some kind of cataclysmic illness that may or may not be cataclysmic. So bless her heart. And I was her caregiver.
Hmm.
So I was super mad about how life was going because it was focusing so much on mom. And I couldn't get my wings off the ground. I couldn't get going. And here I was like 24, 25, 26. And I was hanging out with these old ladies, visiting the sick and praying the rosary every day, which is really beautiful, going to mass every day, very beautiful part of my life. But it wasn't doing anything, wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't feeling God.
Hmm.
And I think that was the main thing. I was really lonely for God.
Hmm.
And so I went to church and I said, God, I'm not talking to you anymore because I need my spiritual path. I need to know what the hell I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
because nothing is making sense and I can't keep showing up and having my heart break. So this is the slowest process to be on your spiritual journey. So I don't know if it's a recommendation or not, because it was years
Mm-hmm.
later. Many journeys. I went to New York City and worked with homeless and runaway teens and had to come back home and take care of my mom. And spent 5 years taking care of my mom because I couldn't let go. And when I let go, she died, like seriously the next day.
Mm.
And then, so that was a process which I had found Kundalini Yoga in the last 3 weeks of my mother's life, which is a really fun story that doesn't make a lot of sense. But at some point in time, while I was house shopping in 2004, I came upon the Phoenix Ashram. And at that time, it must have been Vaisakhi, which is the celebration of the foundation of the Sikh religion. It's a little bit of a graphic story, but it was the first miracle of the current version of the Sikh religion.
So
And
It was a Sikh Kundalini Yoga ashram.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
together and so that all just this community had evolved together, and I was fascinated, but I'm also culturally sensitive. And there were only men outside dressed in black with beards and turbans. And I didn't know what to make of this. And I'm sure I was dressed inappropriately. It's hot in Arizona. I was a party girl and a counselor, and I blended them well. And so who knows? I didn't feel like it was the time to say hi to a bunch of men who looked very, very spiritual and traditional. And I sat out there and I said, God, bring me a woman out so that I can find out, like I can talk to her. And I want to go in that building. I want to know what that is. What is this? And they were broadcasting what I now know is the City Guru Granth Sahib. The spiritual text was being read out loud, and the prayers were throughout the whole neighborhood. I lived in that neighborhood for 10 years and I've never seen this done.
Mm-hmm.
So, or heard it done. And so I'm like, must have just been for me. And I, so when a lady didn't come out, I had to get to work and go do my things. And so I just said, God, whatever this is, you need to bring me back here. And whatever you need to do to work that out, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked away, and I have no memory of that for
Wow.
2 years.
Wow.
And then I'm in the bar. I'm being a good barfly, dating a musician. I've dated several musicians. Um, and sweet, sweet, sweet guy. But for whatever reason, things weren't clicking. But that night, I was side of town, being a designated driver for my drunk friend. You see my life.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
and and I was also probably cheating on the guy that I was dating because I couldn't figure out life. I wasn't cheating, but I was meeting another guy at this other place and getting his phone number. And then this guy, his name is David, he texts me or calls me. I can't remember the technology. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we had texting yet.
Yeah.
And that's how old I am. And so I said, we have to go see David. So we run back downtown and I open the door and I see this man. And this man looks exactly like this personal ad cutout description of a man that I had cut out of a magazine when I was 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, it's my dream man. And for some reason, I needed to be very clandestine about this. And so I was like, somehow we have to meet that man, but David can't see me say hi to that man. And
Oh,
of course,
wow.
I'm thinking it's romantic or it's something or it's whatever. And so uh, this man is somehow affiliated with a girl that was selling vintage purses in this bar at
Mm-hmm.
night. It's weird. It's Phoenix. And that is how I met him, because she said that he had just bought the purse that I wanted. And I was like, well, look at that. Look at
Oh,
how the
wow.
universe works. And I went up and talked to him, and he's an artist from New York City, and he's affiliated with the people that created Burning Man.
Oh,
And this
wow.
was like way back when Burning Man was like 100 people.
Oh,
And he got me
wow.
signed on to MySpace and all these things that I was like, I don't understand social media. Burning Man sounds really scary. I've still never gone.
Yeah.
And I'm not in touch with this gentleman anymore. I think I was such a wreck at the time that he probably was afraid of me.
Mhm.
so, so we had our little spiritual journey. He gave me a business card, and it was a business card to Yoga Phoenix. And so he says, go here. They will teach you to meditate, and, you'll be on your spiritual path. And I was like, okay. So I go there on February 9th, 2006, which was just about a month before my mother passed away. And I go in there, and it was like, I totally forgotten about it. And I'm driving up to the space, and I was like, oh my God. And all of a sudden it comes back, the whole conversation, everything. And I was like, oh my God, you brought me back. It's
Uh-huh.
the first prayer I've ever made that got answered. Oh my
Amazing.
God. I mean, I've had many, but this is the first one where I said, God, I want this. And
Hmm.
God gave it to me exactly how I wanted it.
Wow.
And so I went in there, and I was just like crying, and I saw really old pictures of ladies in turbans. I'd never seen this before. And they were white women, a couple black women's smattered in there. It's mostly been Western white women that have been in this practice. And so I see all these women in these, honestly, now I've gone back to look, and ugly turbans. They weren't pretty, they were weird, but I saw these queens, and I saw these like yogi, spiritual, radiant beings, and I was sold.
Hmm. Well,
So from that day is really where I just jumped in the game 100%, because for me, there was, for the first time in my life, there was zero doubt in my mind that God and I were communicating, and that whatever was going to happen in this realm, which is what I think of it now, especially, um, is totally meant to be. And I just jumped 100% in
that's
and did
super
it all.
beautiful. That's really
So
beautiful.
that's as short as I could make that story.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. I it's so funny that you mentioned that their turbans were kind of messy because it probably took you a while to learn the different styles of tying turbans and you used to wear one daily, right?
Yes, that's also funny. Their turbans were just really tall,
Mm-hmm.
but I picked up the turban thing right away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one of the teacher trainers from my teacher training, everybody, was that when I started Kundalini Yoga, that is what you did. You
Mm-hmm.
put the uniform on.
Mm-hmm. Which is all
Um,
white with a turban and you
you
can
wore
wear
a
like a
turban,
mala.
yes, and you wore some kind of white clothes. And you just would never sit on the podium without 100% looking like a, a spiritual princess or a spiritual prince. The guys have always kind of struggled with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed this, like, unless they really embrace the Sikh aspect of it, then they just wear the men's Sikh clothes. But I've noticed the men who don't really, I'm kind of like, wow, this is so interesting. It's been a struggle, because I think Western culture's idea of a princely looking man is not a yogi. So the
Mm-hmm.
guys are like trying to comply with this uniform and find their presence, and it's awkward. And the
Yeah.
ladies are all like flowing, and the veils and the lace and the this and the that, and it's just been like a world made for us, like our little princesses, our interior child princess is just like coming out and totally embracing this whole thing. So that's just observation. I don't know if that's really what was going on. But
Yeah,
it was just
from
interesting to see us all evolve that way.
yeah, for me it was interesting. Like I had some resistance to wearing the turban because I was like, I'm not Sikh, I'm not like this is kind of strange, but there's a reason why we would wear the turbans and the head coverings, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically the turban has two functions. It's a projection, which is part of numerology world. Um, it is a projection that expands your radiant body when you wear white. So
Hmm.
wearing white alone expands the radiant body. The radiant body is that thing that makes you sparkly, that makes you attractive, that makes people notice you, and also gives you a sense of authority.
Hmm.
So authority was, I think that's been diminished now, but when I was in my training, authority was a very important aspect of the training and of our way of being.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's interesting how all of that works in the evolution of things.
Yeah.
Um, because I think the way most people deal with authority, it's not in their mind very Aquarian. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a primary foundation spiritual task for us to deal with that
Hmm.
and to arrive at our own sense of authority. And one of the fastest ways is to put on all that garb.
Hmm.
I'm still, you can see me now. I don't wear it. I have cut my hair. It's actually layered, so it's not even like, um,
And it used to be really
and
long, right?
yes, I had hair down to my butt,
Hmm.
which, when I took off my turban, I did not like only because number one, well, either way, I couldn't hide. And that's part of the Sikh religion is we don't live a hidden life.
Hmm.
We live a very public life. Number two, um, the I found that unfortunately men perceived the long hair for their own gratification. It
Mm.
was never really acknowledged. Even the goddess culture and spirituality was never acknowledged as something about me as a feminine being or other women as a feminine being. It was always quite sexualized. And I do
Interesting.
know the difference. There is a difference in way that people relate to me with my haircut versus how they related to me with my hair very long versus
That's
how
really
they
interesting.
related to me when I was a punk rocker and dating a bunch of musicians. And,
Right.
like all of those different phases of life. I'm actually feeling drawn to growing my hair back out. I don't know if it will get as long as it was or if I want it to be as long as it was. But I am feeling something in the energy, something in my spiritual process. Um, that is significant as far as who I am as an energy being.
Hmm.
So I'll be getting back in touch with that. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to do. But the turban makes, if you wrap it properly, it makes like a skull cap. It really should be wrapped tight, and it's like a tourniquet around, um, sort of like if you wore a little laurel leaf, like a not a crown of thorns. What is it? Like a laurel where they just fit around the forehead and just
Yeah, like
at the
the
ears.
hippie flower crowns.
Yes, thank
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, it's that area. Or if you wore like an exercise sweatband, that
Hmm.
actually could do the same thing as a turban, quite
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of your head. I had a cranial massage and I wore a turban all the time,
Hmm.
at home with people all the time. I loved my turban. I wrapped it in a very specific way. For 2 years straight, it really was my whole life. And many of the third generation to first generation teachers have that experience where they go through the space. The turban is the life.
Hmm.
But she said she'd never massaged a head before that had such perfect alignment.
Oh, wow.
So something, the long hair, when you're, because it's not really for beauty, it is for energy. So you keep it tied up on top of your head all the time. And I think there's something in twisting the hair up and creating sort of like a vortex on top of your head.
Hmm.
And then having all that cotton fabric wrapped around, and containing the energy of your head. It contains like your halo, your arc line. It contains what they call your samskaras. Some people who say that they see energy, you can see in the Christian religion, they would say your sin. You could see your negative karma because there's positive karma, negative karma. You can see all that, and that is what kind of mucks up your projection. So the turban cleans all that up. That was really the intention. So the balance between the just taking care of your physical body and allowing your skull to align, which totally impacts the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid and promotes mental clarity, emotional balance, um, psychological cohesion.
Hmm.
That is the, I guess, the tool. The,
Yeah.
what would you call that? The material tool of the
Yeah.
turban. Why the effectiveness of the turban?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
it plays a role into the projection because it's an idea that you would feel yourself as a royal being,
Hmm.
that people would see you as a royal being, and you would experience yourself as a royal being. And it changes the way you are in the world, which I also agree.
Hmm.
100%. All the
Yeah.
doors opened for me, whether I was at a punk rock show or at a coffee shop, because I would wear it out. I would
Hmm.
go to my shows and it was great. If I needed to get a water, my water was always free. And as I would walk through a crowd, people would like move.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just very interesting, you
Hmm.
know,
Well,
whatever was going on when people related to that. It was just a very interesting experience in life.
yeah. And well, I think this is a great time for me to kind of share how I perceived you when I met you. And
Okay.
yeah, I shared this with you, one on one, but it was really impactful for me because I was in Kundalini Yoga training in San Diego, and you were a teacher, a Kundalini Yoga teacher instructor. So you were coming to teach some parts of the
Yeah.
training, and I remember when you walked in the door, you were wearing your turban and all white, and that radiant body you mentioned was like glowing. And I hadn't
Um,
experienced that with anyone before. And I was like, whoa, whatever she's doing, I need to, I need to like talk to her and figure out whatever is like causing that glow, because whatever she's doing, it's working, And it was really powerful. It was really, really interesting. And then, from there, I learned that you had done 1,000 day yoga, Kundalini Yoga Kriya, right? And so from that moment, when you told me that, I was like, okay, I need to do one. I don't know which one yet, and I don't know when, but I'm gonna do one. And I ended up doing 1,000 day kriya of the Subag kriya.
wow, fantastic.
Yeah, which one did you end
So
up doing?
you could actually teach this that and then 100% you would. I've never done subag as a regular practice. I do know somebody who does. I think
Hmm.
he still does it. I think
Hmm.
he's on the second round of 1,000 days. I
Wow.
have to admit that I am not the 1,000 day yogi. But I did do one kriya for 1,000 days because I had to. And it is Navi Kriya, which is basically if you do it half time, it's 35 minutes of leg lifts.
Hmm.
And if you do it full time, it's 2.5 hours leg lifts. I did 31 minutes basically. And that was my whole journey since teacher training. So I did not do my sadhana during teacher training.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's
um, I was a
whole secret.
disaster. I was a disaster when I came into this practice. And I don't think I did anything ever in my life for 40 days, ever. And I was doing life the way that I do it during my teacher training in 2007, my level one.
Hmm.
And then I graduated and I squeaked through, and I'm a really good bullshit artist. So I kind of knew what I was getting at it, what I needed to say, what they needed to hear. So I did all the things and turned in my paperwork and passed my test. And I intellectually understood yogi.
Hmm.
And then I thought I could live with myself this way. And I went on, and like 3 months after teacher training, I was like, no intention to teach. I said, what if I do teach though?
Hmm.
What if somebody asked me to teach? What if I, what if that happens and I've never even done my sadhana? I'm like a fraud.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, man. So during my teacher training, I did do 40 days, but I did my kriya in 11 minutes. So if you ever don't have time, I can break down whatever you're doing into 11 minutes. It is one of my gifts.
And for
I
what,
did I did my
yeah.
entire sadhana, which was, it may have been 2.5 hours, it may have been 90. Mine was assigned to me from my first teacher.
Hmm.
Um, and not everybody did Navi Kriya. All of us, my 31 students in the class, they weren't my students, my fellow students, 30, we all did Navi Kriya.
Hmm.
Um, and so I found that it was very grounding, and that I really needed to develop the capacity to say no with the sense that I had a right to say no,
Hmm.
and I needed clear boundaries. And so I just felt so vulnerable at that time in my life. I was in my early 30s to mid 30s. I did teacher training 31 to 30, 31 to 32, um and then I kept on with all the levels of teacher training. So I went through until I was 38,
Hmm.
and doing all the trainings. I'm 51 now, so if anybody's wondering.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so um, the to do Nabi Kriya really, because that's the foundation of the practice, which is your navel point. And I think the navel point is important in life. I don't care if you're a yogi. I can
Absolutely.
always spot someone who doesn't have a navel. And that's what we say. Everybody has a navel, but we're like, you don't have a navel, which means you either don't know, you don't have that energy contained within yourself, or 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 you're not aware of boundaries, you're not aware of how people violate your boundaries. You don't know that you have a right to boundaries. People don't respect but you could be bound. I love people who are like, I set boundaries. I'm like, nobody cares. You set boundaries till you're purple.
Right.
Nobody cares. If you don't set your own boundaries with yourself, no one is ever going to, you're never going to experience respect in your life.
Hmm.
This is what I learned from Navi Kriya, my 1,000 days, because it's nobody's job to respect you.
Hmm.
So we can't go through life worried about whether or not people respect us.
Absolutely.
You have to respect yourself,
Hmm.
and you have to treat yourself like someone who's very disrespectful.
Right.
When you treat yourself like someone who's very disrespectful, you learn self-command. so that when you set your mind and your heart to something, you're going to follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the distractions, you're going to tell yourself, stop looking at the shiny bauble. And you're going to know it's a shiny bauble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the human desire and passion that we have that distracts us from our purpose, you're going to say, well, that's very nice, but not now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need this, we need this, we need this, because this is where we're going.
Right.
And Nabi Kriya gave me that. And I don't know, I didn't know that that's what I was learning,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like the lesson that I always wanted to learn.
I would agree.
Um,
Kundalini Yoga really helped me learn discipline because I don't, kind of like yourself, when before I started Kundalini Yoga and my teacher training, I don't think I've done anything for 40 days straight intentionally, and having these assignments to do the kriyas, I was, I was kind of the opposite. I just dove right in. I was like, I'm gonna do them. I want to have the full experience. I'm doing this for 9 months. Like, this is a full rebirth. I could feel it already happening, and so much was shifting in my life, and a lot of it was really like stepping into. You mentioned it as authority. For me, it's like I like to call it greatness, stepping into my
mhm,
greatness or into my power, right? And
yes.
and for me, it was really a journey in that because I was that rebellious, like, inner child inside myself that was like, oh no, like, I'm good. I don't really need to do that. And like my higher self was like, no, you need to do this. There's something really important that's gonna transpire from this. And so I just fully leaned in. And yeah, there was times when I was like, oh God, I just don't want to do it. And it was the first time that, like, I would look at some of the instructors, including yourself probably sometimes, and I'd be like, who is this person to tell me what to do? And
100%.
it was like a true mirror for that rebellious part of myself. And as I learned to have self-discipline, it really, really subsided to the point where I was like, it completely melted at some point.
Oh, well, I see your transformation, and I think, you know,
Thank you.
if you hadn't done your sadhana, if you hadn't really jumped in, you're way more mature than I am. So, kudos to you for jumping in with the whole thing. I'm very intellectual, so that's the easiest access point for me. But to get into the physical and to challenge myself and begin to feel myself as an energy being and starting to see how energy interacts in the world and how it impacts me and how it impacts you and all the things. I'm very protective of that energy,
Hmm.
and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm
Absolutely.
just wondering, would you be here creating a platform for all of us? And what an honor it is. And you are also a spiritual adventurer, I think.
For sure.
Um, and all the things that you have dived into and the way that you have developed your relationship with yourself and your relationship with men and your honoring of the goddess and like all of that really because I think that's what it does. We have to learn how to confront ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the job of the teacher is to confront the student so that the student will confront themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And, so it's like a good sign when the student is like, why the hell are you trying to tell me what to do?
Yeah,
That's
for
a great
sure.
sign.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, for me it was also giving me the opportunity to see the limitlessness of this reality and of my body and of what's possible as a human. Before
Yes.
that, I couldn't really see it. I couldn't, like, I could see glimpses of it here and there. There were synchronicities and there was all these different alignments and undeniable angelic presence and things like that. But the limitless of this body, of like being like, okay, I just want to put my arms down, right? Like I'm tired. At the gym. At the gym, you know, that's what you do. Or if you're exercising, it's like, okay, I've reached my max. I'm gonna stop, you know? But this practice, Kundalini Yoga, like pushed that limit and was like, hey, there's people in India that still keep their arm up for 20, 30, 40 years. It's atrophied now and they can't move it, but it's still up there, you know? And it's like if they can do that, you can do it for 3 minutes. You could do it for 11 minutes. You can do it for 31 minutes. And that's when things started to click in for me, you know? And like what you were saying, it's like then it was like, okay, where can I take it from there? Like what do I want
Yes.
to do to step further into service, further into purpose? And it just kept unfolding and expanding from that. So it was definitely a really key component to all that for sure for me.
It's a powerful thing to allow that kind of journey, the journey of the yogi, to allow that to come in and integrate all the different aspects of life, you
Hmm.
know. Um, I don't know why this anecdote is popping in my head, but also this, I won't say who it is, but I have a friend and you know him. He's our 1,000 day yogi. He does all the 1,000 days. Um, and he recently had a dating experience and it was disappointing. And I said to him, he goes, well, I just didn't expect you to go that way. And I'm like, well, that's because he's like, I thought I was normal. And I said, you're not normal. We're Kundalinis. Like you checked out normal, like I don't know when normal checked out, but normal checked out a
Right.
long time ago.
Right.
And I think that um this whole concept of normal is so interesting because norm is like what's common, maybe like what everybody is doing.
The collective consciousness, what's happening
But
there,
yes, but I think there's like multi layers of it
for sure.
because in the spiritual world, it's normal to feel weird. It's
Yeah.
normal to, I call it nerding out. It's like normal to nerd out on the spiritual.
Hmm.
Um, it's normal to want to do your inner work.
Hmm.
It's normal to go through periods of distress because you're working something out. And
Hmm.
when we start working things out consciously, um, then it's like things that maybe someone would say you need therapy for, or you're not a healed person or whatever.
Hmm.
Because when you're conscious, you're aware of all the things. You're aware of when you're joyful, you're aware of when you're angry, you're aware of when you're sad, you're aware when you have unresolved grief. You're aware of abuse. You're aware of neglect. You're aware of prosperity and opportunity, and it all exists um, at the same level,
Hmm. For sure.
and it can all exist simultaneously. But the core of your experience doesn't change. I think that's been the biggest thing,
Hmm.
is having the full experience of how miserable I was. And then having the full experience of my core being, which is really joyful, optimistic, creative, everything's possible. There's an answer for everything. Um, yeah, I'm demanding. Yes, my presence is demanding. That's the way it is. But to let all of that, but at the same time, I can be gentle, I'm loving, I'm a mother, I'm nurturing. I'm not really a mother, but like I carry that in me.
For sure.
Um, and so I think that's like the part of consciousness is, and for me, that's what not hiding. I could, one of the gifts of Kundalini Yoga and the spiritual life Everybody chooses their path that works for them. But the power of going through all of your BS in community,
It's really
it's
powerful.
really hard.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to be on display
Yeah.
and all the things that come with it. But the practice gives you that sense of resiliency and foundation and healing and process to go ahead and like be with it all.
Right. Like actually face your shadows, face the stuff that's been getting in the way of the expansion, of stepping into purpose, of finding that divine union, whatever it is, right? Like really,
Yeah.
really addressing the stuff internally. And for most people, you look at the majority of society, there's a lot of numbing happening, whether that's alcohol, whether that's the Netflix, whether that's, you know, drugs or sex. It could be the gym, you know, it could be all kinds of things that people use for that. But when people are really ready to look at themselves, I've found Kundalini Yoga will bring all that up to the surface. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you don't the individual doesn't really have much of a choice. You know, it's kind of like it's here, you got to look at it now. It's like, okay, you signed up for something bigger than yourself and it's moving the energy and you're moving and aligning and now it's here. Now you got to look at it, you know.
Yes. And that's the 1,000 days.
Yeah.
If you want to, I mean, to talk about, uh, I'll bring it back for you. um, there's 40 days in our practice, the way we were taught. And I think this also a little side construct of numerology, but I think it's also in some way, shape, or form in many spiritual paths, especially the 40 days.
Yeah.
Um, but 40 days, 90 days, 120 days, and then it just leaps to 1,000 days. Um, 40 days, the lingo, the language is that it breaks a habit. So a lot of people are like, oh, there's 21 days, you make a habit. Well, you'll make some habit, but mostly in those 40, 21 days, you become aware of your habit,
Right.
which might be why you can break it because you become aware of it. You experience, and then when you take it to the 40 days, you experience all the facets of this habit that you're just keeps plaguing you and interfering in with life and seems so dominant. You experience, but at the same time, you have created a new habit because if you really keep up with whatever it is, I like to say brushing your teeth. You know, you can brush your teeth or you can smile at yourself for 3 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be Kundalini yoga or some kind of meditation. Try it for 40 days. Tell me if it's easy.
Right. Right.
And especially if you say like do it at the same time every day, do it in the same way every day. It is the discipline that actually reveals the root. It reveals the root of whatever that habit attachment is that's getting in the way or why it's getting in the way or how it shows up in your life.
For
So
sure.
when I do something for 40 days, that tells me if I need to do it longer. Because a lot of times I'm resolved at 40 days.
Hmm.
But other times I'm discovering such cool stuff. And then it has wonderful magnetism, like different things start showing up in your life and your attention changes and your moods change. And like, it's kind of fun. It's like, I'm not a proponent of drugs, but if you like drugs, you might like Kundalini Yoga or doing something for 40 days because you can get very fascinated with all the things that come up. It's like, oh, it's like this little grand adventure, little mad scientist activity. And then,
Can you give an
so it,
example? Can you give an example of what you were, what you've done that isn't Kundalini yoga that was really fun for you to explore, and you were like, after 40 days, you wanted to do more?
I'm like trying to think if I've really ever done anything other than Kundalini for 40 days. But I've noted, okay, It was through Kundalini. I started doing self-care practice because I didn't even know what that was. And I'm still really bad at having bedtime. I don't have any kind of bedtime. I do exactly what you're not supposed to do. I go until I'm tired, then I take a nap on the couch until I feel like I have enough energy to get up and go to bed.
Right.
This is how I go to bed. This is not what we recommend. It's on a spiritual level. So, but I started doing all the self-care stuff where you take a warm shower before you go to bed and you like massage your feet and then sometimes I like to read a book or do a journal or do a something because I was like, what the heck is all this? And I learned to sleep on my left side, which actually on my right side, which actually it closes off your right nostril so you breathe out your left. But as you get older, it's not a good plan. You need to sleep on your back or your stomach.
Hmm.
So I had to work through that. But it did help me with my insomnia and my anxiety. So in that journey, I was like, why do all this stuff? Like,
Right.
because why are you telling me what to do? Why are you telling me there's something wrong with my life?
Hmm.
Why is it so exact? What's this big deal? Love. I think when you do something for 40 days, you discover love.
Mm. Yeah.
And one of my favorite things is feeling in love, like madly in love, as if there was someone in my life for absolutely no freaking reason.
Hmm.
I will just have these moments and I'm like, what is this? Oh my God, I'm just totally in love right now.
Hmm. I love it.
As if
Yeah.
there was a person next to me and we were holding each other and, we were doing the whole dream team thing. And I mean, to have that on my own for no reason, I'm just going to the grocery store, and
Hmm.
it's like nothing's nothing's going on. And so I think that really, that is the question that we're asking when we're mad at people for telling us what to do or we feel judged. Um, I think that when you come into that, to have a real full experience of the feeling of love, then leaves you with the feeling of gratitude.
For sure.
Then your whole perspective changes. And
Well, yeah, it's like learning how to love yourself again.
yes,
And even people that have done a lot of work, there's layers to it, like an onion, right? It's like, where can I love myself more? Where do I not love myself enough? And it's like, and then it's like from there it expands to love of creator and love of everyone, and then you see it, everyone's a mirror, and it's like there's evolutionary steps to it, it feels like.
yes, yes. And I think also what I really appreciate about the process, and this wrestling with authority is that when you feel the love, when you feel the gratitude and your perspective changes, it doesn't change the way I want your perspective to change. Maybe it does. It changes, or maybe it doesn't even change the way you expect it to change.
Hmm.
It changes the way it needs to change.
Yeah.
In your own soul consciousness, you get something and it doesn't matter. Maybe someone else will get it. They'll say, oh, yeah, I've had that experience.
Hmm.
But my guess is they haven't. Like, we really do get something that is just for us, that heals something, that resolves something, that connects us to something, that expands something. Um, and that's where the spiritual breadcrumbs come in, that
Yeah.
take you somewhere on this journey that maybe you're trying to get to point A, but somehow you end up on point Z. But point Z is 1,000 times better than whatever point A is that you're
Right.
pursuing.
Right. And you skipped over point B completely because it wasn't needed.
Right.
But the mind, the ego thinks, oh yeah, I need to go to B to get to C, but it's like not really, you know?
But I also think it's important to try to go A, B, C, because
Right.
that's where Z shows up.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like I did this for the last because I lived in California for 7 or 8 years, and then it became very clear to me that financially I wanted to do other things with my life, and I thoroughly loved my time. And I am back in Phoenix, but I have forgiven Phoenix. And if you would have told me that last September when I moved back here, that it was even possible to forgive Phoenix, like the area, I
Hmm.
did. I was like, wow, I totally forgiven Phoenix. I can like be here. I can be in the fullness of me and totally love life. And when I first moved here, I had so much anxiety that literally I was like making a sandwich and my knees were shaking.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, why do I have so much? I was like, oh, well, but my yogi experience allowed me to be entertained by it. I was like, okay, so my knees are shaking and I'm making a sandwich. This is awesome. I guess I'm just going to be anxious today. Um, and I don't thoroughly enjoy that experience, but it's the one that I am having today. And then
Right.
in a week, something came in and a bunch of things shifted that I wasn't expecting. And then my perspective shifted in ways I wasn't expecting. And then people started coming into my life. And what I do now is I choose meditations that support the experience that I want to have. When I
Hmm.
started my practice, I was doing meditations to discover what the practice is. And then I was doing meditations also as I was uncovering what needed to be healed. I was just seeking things to move those emotions so that I could heal
Hmm.
and I could put things aside and they weren't plaguing my body, my mind, and my spirit anymore. But now I'm very manipulative. So now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. I did a meditation for this podcast because
Nice.
it brought up a bunch of stuff and I was like, oh, I need a meditation. And then I was scrolling. These are the breadcrumbs. I was
Uh-huh.
scrolling and there's a teacher that I follow. And what do you know? She's like, if you have this issue and you wanna you can do this meditation to help yourself like move through that. And
Hmm.
so now that's where my practice is. Um,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because it's now that it sounds like now that you've explored and tried all different types of kriyas and meditations, now you can hone it in on exactly what you need for yourself that day, right?
yes, yes. Now I can use it. Now it's like, I don't know, it's like the shirt I choose to wear
Right.
um, or maybe it's the toothpaste I buy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not the same thing. But without the discipline, I don't think I would have the ability to kind of cherry pick my practice effectively.
Yeah.
And the note on the 1,000 days, 1,000 days allows you to perfect something.
Hmm.
So a lot of people think they're perfecting the meditation, but you're not. You're perfecting something in yourself.
Hmm.
And I will say, like my Nabi Kriya, I have never lost. I can do Nabi Kriya. I might hate it for one day, but like I can fall right back into my shape, my structure, my time, everything within a week, of jumping into my Navi Kriya.
Hmm.
All of that, the way that it changed my body, the way that it tuned my energy, the way that it um, consolidated my psychology, the way that it soothed my emotions. All of that comes back. That's what happens with the 1,000 days. Like you can take your subag and all the lessons that you got from it because you have mastered something in yourself,
Yeah.
something of that frequency in yourself.
Hmm.
And you can either use subag itself as a tool. And when you do that practice, it drops you right in
Right.
to that mastery, the attraction. I think subag is really about attraction and
Yeah, it's all
mastery and
about
alignment with prosperity,
prosperity, abundance. Yeah, like
right?
aligning to that frequency. And yeah, for me that was really important because my family had some lack mentality programs playing,
Mm-hmm.
and being back in Pennsylvania right now, I when I had some time with my father, I still saw that program playing for him, and it was different for me because I was like, I've already I've already moved through that, so
Yes.
I can just observe where he's at, and it doesn't activate me the way it used to, you know?
Yes. And you bring up such a good point is that that is a huge part of the journey in meditation. Anybody who takes on any kind of meditation or and is the deprogramming.
Hmm.
We have this way that we have been hypnotized by our culture, by
Hmm.
our genetics, by so we're all kind of there's a certain part of us that is feeling, doing, and seeing. And I think those are the layers of spiritual awakening. There's always a part of us that's like a zombie.
Hmm.
And we don't know that we're a zombie until we have the awakening. And then we're like, oh, what's this? What's this? Where are we? I think of Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas when he goes into Christmas, like, oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? And suddenly we realize, oh, I've been stuck somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's a huge part of the after 40 days, because you're not necessarily deprogrammed. When
Hmm.
you get into the 90 days, you learn what needs to be deprogrammed. And
Mm.
then 120 days is your first movement out of the program.
Hmm.
And then depending on what your experience of that intensity is and the necessity to annihilate that program, you go and
Yeah.
you do the 1,000 days,
Yeah, it's
right?
really
Because
it,
that's how we reprogram.
right. Right. Yeah, it's really important. Like that's a great distinction because the 1,000 days almost like for those deeper rooted programs, and those parts of ourselves that we may not even realize are there because they're in our blind spot. They're in our like
Mhm.
we've hidden them away somewhere far that we may not even realize they're there, or like blocked out memories or traumas that need to be processed that could be in that bank hidden far away in the subconscious. So, yeah, that's a great distinction for sure. Thank you for
Yes. And
sharing that.
doesn't it feel good? Like what's it like to be with your dad watching his program and then the contrast of you not being in the program?
Well, what happened for me was we went on a trip, and I ended up, it felt like what it got brought up to the surface, and then I had this huge purge where I got well, where my body physically threw it up so that it wasn't in my body anymore. And it was really intense. It was like one of those purges where you can't breathe, and it's like your diaphragm sore after in your neck because it was like I knew I wanted it out. And that was like it felt like the final stage was to see where my dad was at, to see how it had come into my life, to have done the work in my body, and then to that was kind of, it felt like the final stage of like, okay, now I'm done fully with it and I'm getting it out. And that was my experience. And yeah, after that, it was just interesting because I was like, the things that he perceives as like expensive or as like not worth the money or whatever, I have totally different viewpoints with that, with a lot of those things. And that's okay. That's just where we're at.
Mm.
And, he meditates every day. And my prayer is that he gets there at some point, however he needs to.
Yes, yes. Well, and he's doing his own work,
Yeah.
especially if he's meditating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So yeah, it's been powerful because him in particular, him and I had an awakening 2 weeks apart. So we've been able to uplift each other and give each other different tools
oh,
and when I first started Kundalini, he was doing it and then he went more
oh,
down like the Raja yoga path. So he's more on that and now he's been studying with a Buddhist, a woman who studies Zen Buddhism, an Australian woman that has had her has reached enlightenment. So he's been studying with her, and he really enjoys her energy and the way she teaches. So that's been really cool to
wow.
watch him. Yeah,
Well, you see where you come from.
right.
Yes. I have two fathers. My birth father was a seeker more than an adventurer. I think he was a seeker. And so I know that my spiritual curiosity and ambition comes from him.
Hmm.
My birth mother, I have two mothers also. My birth mother was also in her own right. She actually was very curious about Buddhism. I don't know where she ended up with her spirituality, but I think about the choices that she made on my behalf. And you can look at them on the surface as, a huge experience of rejection. But when I look at them on a deeper level, I really see her spiritual journey, um,
Hmm.
and the sense of responsibility that she felt in life. And I'm like a responsible person. And I think that also comes from my mother. And then I got another set of parents that I embrace as my own, the
Hmm.
Fitzsimmons. So, and they were very different people. My father was very private. I would imagine he was spiritual in some way, shape, or form. I believe that both my Fitzsimmons parents passed away consciously and on purpose. And I just consider that like such a huge miracle
Hmm.
because they just come from more private generations,
Yeah, for sure.
you know? So, um, so I definitely think that when spirituality becomes a focus, this is better to say, all beings are spiritual beings. Like we can't escape it, even if, um, even if we're not existing intentionally or consciously as in a spiritual practice. We are all spiritual beings. We are all trying to evolve our consciousness. And I think people develop like drugs and addiction and all of that, either as an attempt to be conscious or they're avoiding reality.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever worked with people that have substance and addiction, but a
Hmm.
lot of those people are really spiritual and they're escaping through their addiction into something safer, either because religion and spirituality haven't been safe for them, or reality is not safe for them, and whatever realm they go to on their drugs, and they can either not be responsible, um, or at least they feel safe in whatever delusion or physiological experience that they have. So I don't know that we can avoid. I think we're all on the journey. I don't think we can avoid evolution. I don't think that we can avoid spirituality. There are things that we have, tools such as meditation, Kundalini Yoga, understanding yourself as an energy being, existing as an energy being, um, religion, different spiritual practices, native cultures that will keep the codes, I suppose I would say it that way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So we have all these tools, but I don't know if we can really avoid being spiritual. We're all spiritual.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, it's just, I think that my belief is that different souls are at different ages.
Yes.
So, we have older souls here on Earth, and then we have younger souls. And the younger souls may want to, play in the sandbox, whereas the older souls are like, all right, I've already played in the sandbox. Now I want to go drive the Ferrari, and it's like,
Yes.
and the Ferrari is like, those deeper layers of evolution and expansion within self, and the sandbox is the Ferraris and the nice house and the the well-paying job, like the more of the 3D world. So that's how I see it, is that those people that are in the souls that are in the sandbox, they may still want to get the car, later on in their journey in this life, or even at whenever they're ready. But that's not necessarily everybody's path, because they may just want to experience being being on this plane, being on Earth, and the more material aspects of life. But I think everybody deep down has there's underneath all of it a desire to connect with Creator and find that depth
Hmm.
and that realness.
I think it's possible to do both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what I was curious. I'm like, oh, how did I love that? I love that idea that there's younger souls and older souls. And then I was curious, how do you recognize a younger soul? I have no idea if I'm an old soul or a new soul or not. Things
I have
tell
a
me.
strong feeling you're an old soul.
There are some things that tell me I'm an old soul. That's more breadcrumb spirituality. Because I have really interesting connections with people. And a lot of times it's like in very normal circumstances, but it was definitely revealed to me the work that's involved for any two people to meet,
Yeah.
And so that sometimes leaves me with, I don't know if I've been here before, but I think I have. I mean, I think actually I had a very recent past life
Mm.
in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Okay.
and I think it was in the early 1900s that
Hmm.
I was there. But so I think I just turned around and came back. I don't know what I was doing there, but I feel very at home there. I must turned around and come back.
Hmm.
Um, so, but I definitely think I've lived many lives. And I think I meet a lot of people that, whether briefly or for long term, we've met before.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I'm always like, Hmm. Do I meet new people anymore? Which would say how old of a soul I am. I don't know because I seem to not meet, I don't feel like too many people are new. And when they're new, it's often like, oh, that's just an aspect of life I haven't checked out yet. And those relationships don't last to me when someone's new. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just checking this out, this area of life that, you know, is foreign to me. And then that just goes on its way.
Yeah.
But the way that I was brought into Kundalini, and because of the man that I met and the way that I met him and followed, that was a breadcrumb. Like, I had no idea. I was so ambivalent about my relationships at the time and myself at the time. But the draw to go to that bar to say goodnight to my boyfriend, who I wasn't sure about, was beyond so strong. And then the fact that I met this guy who didn't know why he was from New York. He was in the last 5 days of his visits in Phoenix, and he was feeling quite lost about why he was here. And then when we met and started talking, it was the weirdest conversation. It was definitely like interdimensional. I don't even remember feeling like in my body. It was just a weird, weird, weird experience. But he was immediately like, You're, I've been waiting to meet you. I've been
Oh,
waiting
wow.
to meet you. And we just had that little brief connection. It wasn't about who we were going to be in the world, but um, he, I thought, God could have brought me back to that ashram in 10,000 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow he had to get that guy. It's like we had a soul agreement. He had to get
Mm-hmm.
that guy to get on a plane to come to New York to hang out long enough for whatever needed to be worked out in me to be either in an unconscious state of mind so that there wasn't resistance. Because I didn't drink a lot, but I had had a beer, at least one. So I was a little shifted. Designated driver drinking a beer. That's good practice. um, and so, but whatever had to happen, and then I needed to be able to receive that message,
Mm-hmm.
right? And David had to be part of the scene because if I didn't go to meet David, I wouldn't have gone to meet this other guy,
Yeah.
right? Like, I didn't know that it was about actually getting back to the ashram. I really did think I was going for David.
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole catalyst. Um, and so I just find that so interesting. What needs to happen, even for you and I would never have met you um, if my life in Phoenix had gone well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I
Yeah.
went to California just because that became an opportunity at a moment in time where my life in Phoenix wasn't going well.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever had to happen for you to be on your journey to come to teacher training in the same place where I was. And then for us to be here now, like, I don't know, whatever journey has happened for you to have this calling to invite people to come and talk about their spiritual journeys. And um, so I think that's just a fascinating part of life.
I think it makes it so much more interesting, because the the probability of the these different alignments that happen, right? Of these synchronicities, these spiritual breadcrumbs, as we mentioned earlier, they're like smaller than winning the lottery,
Right?
or like way 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 smaller, like infinitely smaller, right? And so those experiences to me make me think that we do have these soul contracts and we do have these agreements for people to come in at very specific moments in our life to trigger and activate certain healings, or to show us different parts of ourselves, or to assist us through different hardships, and it's been fascinating because uh yeah, that's how I live my life now. It's like spirit has to show me once, show me twice, show me three times, and then it's like, okay, I know for sure that that's for me, you know? And,
Yes,
and
yes. That's a good
especially,
measurement.
yeah, I mean, especially if it's like something important, like a relationship or, something that is going to be really impactful in my life, whether it's a friendship or, it's like I listen. I really listen, to and I have observations, and then spirit gives different encouragement, right? For me, it comes a lot through nature. Like I receive feathers. Like yesterday, I'll show you this feather
Oh,
that I found. It's a
beautiful.
blue jay feather.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's you can't see it that well in the light, but there's all blue
I
right
see
here.
it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, so for me, that's like a confirmation. Other ways that I receive that is through numbers, right? Like when I see 777, I know I'm on the right path. It's like
Nice. Yes.
I'm doing it really the way, I'm on a good path, it feels. Other ways I receive it is like I'll find sticks, like I recently went to Maine with my dad, like I mentioned, and my partner, and I found this. I didn't even find it. It found me, right? Like I chose to go sit on my own and meditate for a little while. And as I'm looking for the spot to sit, there's this beautiful staff on the ground and it has a dragon head.
Wow.
Yeah, and it has a dragon
Wow.
head. And I'm like, okay, this is amazing. And it's not all natural, right? Like it's just naturally in the shape of a dragon head with an eye and everything.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, this is amazing because, it was just encouraging me to keep going with that process that I mentioned earlier with my father, and then I think the purge happened the next morning. So it
Wow.
was really, really um, it was just letting me know like it may seem hard right now, but you're doing it right. You got a lot of tools, just keep going. Because I was feeling a little discouraged in that moment. I was like, man, I'm seeing all these programs in my father that I thought I cleared, right? And then
Yeah.
that purge came with some hape, which is like a tobacco snuff that I
Oh,
use.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day.
Yeah, it's been one of my. It's what after Kundalini Yoga, I found Hape, and it's been life changing because it gets me into that space that it takes me sometimes an hour and a half in Kundalini Yoga to get to, and I'm right there, and then I can tap my body and clear the energy, and then it's
Hmm.
kind of like a hack, right? It's like really uncomfortable at first because you shoot it up your nose and it feels like that salt water when you get it in your nose in the ocean. It feels
Oh,
like that in the
yes.
back of your head, but then within 15 seconds you're in it. You're grounded and you can set really strong intentions, and that's why I love that
Wow.
practice. Yeah. But it is uncomfortable. It's not for everyone, and it does have tobacco, so it's legal. It's legal in the U.S. and but it's very intentional. It's been preyed on. It's been done in a very sacred way with the tribes in the
Oh,
Amazon.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. So
Yes. I
these
definitely believe in sacred practices.
yeah, yeah, and the meditation's a lot deeper afterwards because it you know it's I like to sometimes do that and then some Kundalini yoga or just go right into meditation.
Hmm.
And it goes really really well together. I know one of the big clearings for me was like in Kundalini yoga was like don't mix Kundalini yoga with plant medicine, right? And I
That
remember
is a very firm instruction.
it, and me being the spiritual explorer or, seeker, right? I, I really listened to spirit and spirit guided me, several years after, I finished my Kundalini yoga training to go do ayahuasca. And when I sat with ayahuasca, that was like the biggest the biggest thing I was working through in the beginning was like, oh my God, like I'm doing this practice and how is this going to integrate with this medicine? And it actually amplified it for me. Like my body started unwinding and aligning my spine so that the Kundalini could shoot up. And once it shot up, and then I was in it. I was like fully on the medicine and I didn't need very much, you know? Like
Yeah.
some people take 2, 3, 4 cups of the ayahuasca, and for me, a little bit, like half a cup was enough to get me fully into that experience. And that journey actually was about self-love. And my intention was to see myself anywhere where I didn't love myself, right? And I was taken into a space where I lost my mind. Like I was crazy. I was fully out of, this world. And I realized that I had to learn to love myself there. And I did. I fully went into it. I sat in it. I was just like blissed out, but like I didn't care about anything else except myself, right? And then I was able to come out of that and find the love. And then the next day was all about sending that to the world. So,
Oh, it
yeah,
sounds
that's
amazing.
yeah. So, I mean, it for some people it does work okay together and even beneficial for me, but for others they don't need it. But the medicine showed me I don't need to work with ayahuasca again. I have other ways, and it showed me the fabric of this reality, and I didn't need anything else. If I went in again, it would be like going into a video game, and I can do the inner work in other ways. So yeah,
Nice.
that was really
I
powerful.
think I think that we are all guided um, on our journey. I
Yeah.
think our experiences are what they are.
Hmm.
Um, because I am a 3HO licensed trainer, I do have to say, little caveat. It in general is not recommended that Kundalini and especially psychedelic drugs are done together, mostly because I'm not familiar with ayahuasca, so I cannot, and I don't think ayahuasca was something in the realm of conversation when Yogi Bhajan was developing the teachings.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but the thing is, it's kind of like when Ram Dass was given, when Ram Dass, was it Ram Dass gave his teacher the acid, or did Ram Dass receive the acid? It was Ram Dass gave acid to his teacher, which I don't
Hmm.
remember if it was the Maharishi or not, but so and his teacher was like had absolutely zero effect.
Hmm.
And that was actually why Ram Dass went into meditation and gave up his LSD and other types of hallucinogenics because he wanted to learn from this man who was living in a world where LSD wasn't such a far trip from his reality. He's
Right.
like, "What do you mean you're not having any experience?" And the guy was just like, "I'm not having," and it's because whatever realm that yogi was existing in, he either had the capacity to control and manipulate his mind to have the same experience. So his sensory system was already accustomed and had a home.
Okay.
So there was no, whereas somebody else takes LSD or and what are all the hallucinogens now that they, shrooms or these things, you have a psychedelic effect because your brain's not used to being in that state of being.
Hmm.
Um, or maybe you don't have perceptual exercises that you've done on a regular to process information with that chemical introduction.
For sure.
Something I think people really struggle with. This is where I'm the party pooper. It's one of my jobs. Kundalini is not about having a Kundalini rising. We don't
No.
care.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people really struggle with that. In fact, Yogi Bhajan taught it was dangerous because it's distracting. Like for you, you're on a spiritual journey where you were wanting or needing to have that actual full Kundalini rising
Mm-hmm.
in an intentional space for a purpose.
Right.
Majority of people out there, if I can be so frank, are just dicking around.
Oh yeah.
And they have a sense of, that was also a sexist term, I'm sorry. So, but it's like, but they are experimenting, they are playing, and they think that when they have this rising, that like having an enlightenment is the same as eating the right kind of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
If I eat this piece of chocolate, I will have enlightenment, or Adam and Eve and the apple,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So there's a difference in, number one, having experience, individual experience. Like, I understand the realm of psychedelics. I understand the realm of marijuana. I understand the realm of ayahuasca, right? And then I understand the realm of Kundalini. I understand the realm of meditation. Right?
Right.
So where we have full understandings of these different realms, and then maybe I can't do it because I don't have an understanding of all those realms, and nor would I ever teach it. That
Mm-hmm.
to put that together, for many people, I've worked with people who are now trying to heal from mixing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they've been mixing because they take certain kinds of psychotropic drugs for mental illness that they've taken while practicing Kundalini, and they have a certain kind of experience, and or they are recreational or sporadic users of certain kinds of psychedelics, and then they start practicing Kundalini, and they're very energetically sensitive, but they can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up in this whole situation where they can't understand the veils.
Right.
What veils have been lifted? What veils are down? What's part of my imagination? What's part of my soul experience? What's part of my reality? What's part of my trauma?
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, I still stick to the disclaimer
Mm-hmm.
that we don't mix,
Right.
because all of those things are very powerful in and of themselves.
For sure.
And it speaks to how powerful the experience of Kundalini Yoga is, which is actually about creating a flow. We want flow you don't want the shoot up.
Right.
It's not necessary.
Right.
Now, if you learn to manipulate and you become sensitive, you can use Kundalini for that. If you learn to manipulate and become sensitive to the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid and the mix of the energy and balancing all of your energy bodies, and you can crank that up, then that experience could be very useful to you, because in the proper circumstances, extremely, as you experienced, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely healing to the nervous system.
Yeah.
It's just that it's like 10% of the population, bless.
Can you
Like,
say that
it's,
again?
yeah, I know
Yeah.
it cut out, is probably me. 10 population can do that,
10% of the population can do that.
can mix it
Yeah. Yeah. It's
and
probably
not have a
10%.
psychotic break,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? So we always have to be, I think, spiritual um, for our own journey. And then now maybe you've locked into something, and if you took that on as a 40-day practice, you would master something about it and be able to coach people on how to do that in a safe way that it will serve them. For
Yeah.
me, I'm never going to do that because I don't walk in the psychedelic realm.
Hmm.
So I can't teach from there,
Right.
right? Like I can't teach from there. It's the
Hmm.
same as me telling someone Kundalini can heal all things. You should get off your psych meds because Kundalini is, the ticket. It's going to balance everything in your realm and in your body.
Which
Well,
which I want to add that I
it
have met
might,
people that it has. Yeah. It's
but I
I've
can't
known
advise it.
yeah, I've known people that have come off their meds and just used Kundalini instead.
Well, I did. I was on thyroid medication, and then I started doing breath work and I healed my panic attacks.
Wow.
Oh, this might be me if I cut out again. That sucks. And so my phone and all the things being challenged. Um, so, but yes, I think I think our levels of consciousness and our capacities to work with the different levels of consciousness are definitely evolving.
Hmm.
And I think that with a skilled practitioner, being maybe
Hmm.
we can begin to knit those experiences and tools together in a way that's really effective and powerful and healing and not chaotic. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people are experimenting even if they don't admit that to themselves, and they just create a lot of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That was my message, more for the teachers than it
Yeah.
was for
Yeah.
than for
That's
anyone
great.
else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I know numerology is like such a huge passion for you. Can you just break it down for people that have never heard of it, how it works, how you work with it, and how you teach people about it?
Yeah, that's fun. I'm like, does anybody not know about numerology? I feel like, but there are so many, again, the mixing. I listened to a couple of people, and even in our practice. So the numerology that I know came from Kundalini Yoga. I had a brief connection with another form of numerology, which I think actually comes from the Chaldean path, that works in a similar way. My mom, we had like a family psychic, and so she broke down the numbers, but she only worked with them on levels of life cycles. So if your birth date equaled out to this number, which we would call your destiny path, then this is the life cycle that you're in. So these are very likely the lessons that you would learn.
Oh, cool.
Um, and so that's an element of it.
Hmm.
There is a karmic number, there's destiny number, there's a life path number, there's a past life number, there's a soul number, and then there's some other numbers um, that have been associated with your projection, which is how people see you. I'm not sure if I've got the right terminology from my original teacher, but I call it the foundation number. It's kind of like where your core values exist.
Hmm.
Then there's your challenge number, and you have an asset number, which is like if you can tap into this energy, it can work for you. And then there's a helper to your destiny, which is a lot about the kind of networking connections that you make. Are you connecting with people? So people who vibrate at this energy or have these kinds of skills that represent this energy, then that helps you on your destiny path. Those are way showers. Those are guides, those are mentors. And that's energy within yourself. Like if you tap into this energy, it will help you. And the numerology system is 1 to 11. It's based on the birthday. The one that I work with
Mm-hmm.
is based on your birthday. Yogi Bhajan talked about all of us being in a very specific latitude and longitude and altitude.
Where you're born, right?
Um, where you're born, but he didn't really care. Like we don't go into like astrology says where were you born and the city and the time, and none of that really matters in this practice. This is very simplistic system of numerology, and it's affiliated with the 10 bodies, this concept that we have energy bodies. Now, people who are specifically energy workers, they might tell you that there's more than 10 bodies, and that they're not very specific, which I would agree with. But for Kundalini, we work with these specific 10 frequencies that are within and without the body. So we have a soul body. We have there's a difference between the positions. It's a chart. You make like a little chart. There's a difference between the positions and the bodies. So you have a soul body, you have a mind body, which has 3 parts, right? Neutral mind, negative mind, positive mind. And then you have your physical body, which is its own shape and structure, right? So we're very unique, even if we have a twin. There's something very unique about this shape and structure that makes it not that shape and structure. So we
Mm-hmm.
have physical. And then you have your arc line, which there's the arc line over the head, like the halo. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's the arc line that goes across the chest for the heart center. So, and the heart center is like its own mind. So the heart center is a chakra as well as it's an energy system, and it's part of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gets convoluted and laced into other different areas. We have our aura. So that's the thing most people are common to. And that's actually what gives you your shape and structure. It's your electromagnetic field. Now, fun fact, we have the body has an electromagnetic field. The brain has an electromagnetic field. The heart has an electromagnetic field. So we have layers of these electromagnetic fields that are working together. And when you go through transformation, you go through a polar shift.
Mm-hmm.
So the aura works a lot like if you know anything about women's reproduction and how people are made. So when the cell splits, that's how those electromagnetic fields work. Is they're polarized, and then they depolarize, and then they repolarize in a new. They often will flip. So it
Mm.
works like the earth. It works like women's the cellular. Well, actually, men have the same cellular reproduction going on, unless you're making a person. That
Mm-hmm.
happens in the woman's body, but it's kind of like that. And then we have prana. We have this life force, which is also an aspect in psychology. It is our authority. It is our presence. It is our containment. So, and then we have the subtle body, which is all about refinement, and understanding the seen and the unseen,
Mm-hmm.
existing in the unknown. And that body contains the soul when we leave. So it might be what is it, 23 grams, what's left when we die. Some people think that's what's left is what leaves the body is the weight of the subtle body and the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a radiant body, which we talked about at the beginning. And then we have the embodiment, which we move in and out of embodiment. So when all of our systems are functioning, we're in the embodiment. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're just on and everything is in flow and you feel connected and you're meeting all the right people and you're in the right place. And you just can't imagine that life is going to ever be bad. That's the 11th embodiment. And people who have said that they are enlightened, they are learning or have mastered living in that 11th embodiment consciousness, which is really hard to do. It involves a lot of frequent sacrifice. So bless those beautiful people that you could, because there's a difference between I had a Kundalini rising or I had an enlightenment, and then people who hold it. Some people, so we move in and out of it. We're enlightened and de-enlightened all the time, and then we go deeper and deeper. So some people really want to have that practice and that journey of learning to hold it.
That's really
not
interesting. So
but,
I have a side question,
yeah.
kind of like a side quest. How does samadhi, the different levels of samadhi play into that?
I only know about one level of samadhi,
Okay.
and samadhi is usually that is potentially the 11th embodiment. That is a state of meditation where you zero point.
Okay.
And also, we zero point in meditation sometimes for a second. And once there's a sensation in the body systems when you're at zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to teach that to people. I know what that is for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know what your zero point is. So when you become sensitive, that's part of the subtle body. When you become sensitive at your zero point, you can learn to stay at your zero point longer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our deepest level of meditation, right? So when you go into samadhi, that is if you want to release your physical body, you can. But so samadhi isn't even like doing healing work. It isn't, it is, and so
Oneness
you
with
can,
everything, right?
yes, and you can expand your capacity for beingness when you can consciously zero point and actually then just be zero.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I use my meditation a lot for healing. I use it for downloads. So I don't know how much time I spend in samadhi myself. But, if enlightenment is your ticket, you're like, I want to be an enlightened being and I want to learn to hold that frequency, then being in longer points of samadhi to zero yourself out like that is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where you're like suspended animation.
Mm-hmm. So
You
you
know?
mentioned the 10 bodies. How are they connected to numerology?
So the numerology system that I use is they basically the numerology system is understanding your own personal configuration of the 10 bodies. So what's interesting is in your basic chart, what Yogi Bhajan officially taught us, there's only 5 positions. But we could have any one of the 10 bodies in those 5 positions. So whichever body is in whichever position gives you what your practice is. It also gives you, and it's a way of intellectually understanding yourself so that you can learn how to work with your energy. So that whatever your spiritual practices are, whatever your relationships are, whatever your career, I mean, you can really apply it anywhere, is understanding yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Because some of our energy system, it's strong over here, it's weak over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all that way. So
Right.
you can learn to engage your energy systems and balance them in such a way that you turn it's like every energy body has a downside or an upside. So there's a way that energy body serves you, and there's a way that we sabotage
Okay.
ourselves or that we have negative personality traits. or we have bad habits.
Hmm.
Addiction in particular is related to the pranic body, to the life force, to your sense of authority,
Okay.
which is the eight. But the eight is also about infinite capacity. It is about containment, but it is also about expansion, right? And so people who struggle with their eighth energy body, their prana, are trying to get, when they have addiction issues, it's I'm trying to get energy because I'm probably empathic. And so I've either got a lot of energy in here that's not mine, and I don't know what to do with it, which also means I have a weak aura. And so maybe I'm not going to I need to strengthen my aura in order to balance my prana. I
Hmm.
need to engage in physical activity, which is using your physical body. I need to engage in physical activity to dispel all that excess energy, or I need to cry, or, I need to be mad, or so I need to do something to, number one, get rid of all the excess the excess energy. And then I need to find healthy ways to, um, healthy ways to expand my own energy and to feel more solid
Hmm.
within myself, right? And
Right.
to get comfortable being in this body. So right there, you've got now, if that's in your karma, if that's in your gift, if that's in your projection, if that's in your past life, if that's in your destiny position. So it's if it's your core value. So maybe you have something in your core value about either being a giver or about boundaries, right? But if you're not honoring them, then there's all these other things that ripple out.
That makes sense.
So,
So, what's the five positions that you mentioned that Yogi Bhajan said?
now, so the basic five positions are your soul position, your karma position, your path, your past life, and your destiny.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
Eh,
off of that, there's 10 off of each one.
yeah. So within each of those positions, actually, you can have any one of 11 numbers,
Okay.
except that your past life number is almost never going to be a one
That's for the
because,
new souls, probably only.
yeah, I've known a couple people with zero.
Oh, whoa.
So that's always fun. I have met some of the newer generations have a zero.
What does that
And
mean?
I mean, based on my own interpretation, I think that it's kind of like I don't have a fate line on my hand, I also like to read palms for fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I've always created my life, like I don't follow a straight path. So I feel like the zero is part of the radiant body. The zero is about wholeness, but the zero is also blank space. So
Mm,
maybe there's something in there where they're evolving a new form of energy, because that is also something that many people have talked about where, there's going to be a bigger and bigger gap between the older generations and the younger generations because we are ultimately, in general, the younger generations are starting to evolve
hmm.
differently.
Yeah.
Um, so that could be part of it, that could be part of that. I think my
Yeah.
niece actually has a zero in her chart.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I wonder if it's somehow related to that 12-strand DNA that's being activated and the upgrades that a lot of these crystal and rainbow children have that are coming
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm-hmm.
I know for myself, I'm an indigo child, which
Beautiful.
is kind of like the first wave, you know, and
Yes.
then my kids like that would have been born, they would have been, I think Rainbow's the next one, and then their kids that are being born now are like the the crystal children. So it might be flipped. It might be rainbow and maybe crystal first and then
You
rainbow.
froze, so I don't know if I'm still.
No, yeah, I was just saying that uh, that there's these three kind of waves right now on Earth, and each wave has a different uh, role to play
Yes, yes.
in the new Earth and the way that things are being created and formed. And like as an indigo generation, we're kind of there to like break it all down, and
Yeah.
and then the next one they're already rebuilding, and then the third generation they just step into it. They're already doing it, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's really cool how that all works. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm always fascinated with how these different older technologies kind of intermesh into the prophecies and things like that that have been talked about from various different cultures and walks of life, you know?
Yeah, and I think all that's going to be left is energy.
Hmm.
Like, Kundalini is a way of accessing and mastering, containing, redirecting, transforming energy.
Yeah,
The practices that you are participating in, and as we heal ourselves, right? It's energy. It's all about energy. If we have like stuck emotions, if we have unresolved experiences, if we have trauma, if we have behavioral issues, it's all energy. It's all
yeah,
based on these and how functional our energy systems are,
yeah,
and then our energy affects our psychology, and our psychology affects our personality,
right.
and energy, psychology, and personality affect are can affect as well as be affected by intellect,
Hmm.
right? So we have this other aspect of ourselves is um, how are we how well do we utilize resources? That's how I like to think of intelligence. I don't like to think about it in terms of, are you smart? Do you have a good job? Do you
Right.
read? Can you count? I lack some of these skills, and then I'm very strong in some of those areas.
Hmm.
Um, but how well do we utilize our resources? How well do we recognize our resources? How well do we care for our energy? How well do we understand energy? How well can we work with energy? How well do we have the resiliency and malleability so that when we're interacting with other people, I know what's my energy. That's what my turban taught me.
Yeah,
I know what's me.
right.
And till I started wearing that turban, I didn't know that all those other people were coming home with me at the end of the night. And
R-
I was like, well, they're not very happy.
right.
I'm okay. And then I come home and I'm like, I'm not okay. But it was
R-
because I was taking on everybody else's negative and trauma and emotions, and maybe even some of their warped psychology from like distortion because of alcohol and not not happy drugs,
yeah,
and stuff like that. So once I learned that, then I could. Now the reason why I don't wear a turban all the time is, you can't say that it doesn't hurt, but I don't need to, because now I know my energy and somebody else's energy, and I am able to hold my own energy.
right. For sure.
And sometimes I'm able to shift the energy around me, which is another skill. So there's just, as a person on the spiritual journey, I think especially if you're doing anything where you're offering spiritual support to other people or you're healing, this is where the numerology system and understanding yourself as an energy being is so important. You don't have to use the system, but I like it because it's like a little shorthand. You make your little chart and you can just see everything. And I have no idea why it works. That is my one mystery.
Hmm.
Um, because someone put the chart together just to make it easy to read and easy to do the calculate, to intellectually understand how the energy works together.
Hmm.
But for myself, I'm like, wow, why does that work? I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to consult with like a physicist or somebody and say, why does this chart work? Or someone who does
Right.
calculus. Why does
Right.
this chart work? I don't know why this chart works.
Yeah.
Um, so can I plug? Am I allowed to give a plug?
A plug?
Yes, a plug.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean a plug?
Am I allowed to share what I'll be doing with
Oh, for sure.
numerology?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, um, and I want to do a 3 weekend course on numerology and how to use your energy systems. Um,
Amazing.
so that's going to be, it's one weekend a month, October, November, December.
Okay.
So,
That'll be perfect because
um,
our podcast will come out end of September, early October. So,
okay. Yeah. So if you know anybody that's interested, um, so um, I'm I'm still thinking about like depending on how the group evolves, if I want to do like sort of like a launch,
yeah.
so that would come with benefits and discounts of things or freebies,
Cool.
just to do a launch to because it would be the first time I would actually move through the whole thing. So I would be learning as much as I would be teaching. But that's
I think
my
that's
plan.
amazing. Yeah,
The third weekend in October, November, and December.
okay. So we'll share any of your websites or links below
Okay.
below in the description so that people can sign up and find you. And
Okay.
yeah, that'll be really perfect. And
So when does this air?
I'll tell you off
Okay.
the call, but
Oh
yeah, it'll
gosh,
be
is this gonna be part of it or do you delete this?
no, this will be perfect. This will be part of it.
Okay.
It's all
This
part of
is
it.
the awkward part.
No, so I think this is a good time for us to close it out. So thank you so much, Harpal, for coming on and for being and sharing so much wisdom and so many teachings. There's so much more as I expected we could have talked about. And so you're welcome back on anytime. Maybe we can do another
Thank
episode
you.
in a few months.
Yeah, and I think it'd be fun maybe to work together or do something. I think I would learn a lot from you.
Absolutely. I think that'd be amazing. I I really would love that. Yeah, that'd be amazing. All right,
Well,
Harpal,
thank you
until
for this opportunity. It was a really great conversation. Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much. Until next time. Take care.